Welcome back to the Pilates Exchange. I'm your host, Hannah Teutcher, and I am here with my husband.
Yeah, I'm back again. Hello, everyone.
We are going to be talking about today what would we do differently if we started the studio again? Like with the knowledge that we have now in comparison to all the things, all the mistakes. And we're just going to pick out a couple of mistakes that we did and a couple of insights because there's a lot.
Definitely.
Definitely. Um, I would say the first thing, if I had to build my Pilates studio from scratch, knowing what I know right now, I would start working on building systems earlier. Meaning, like, I did everything manually. I spent a lot of time with everything just living in my head and not explaining to anyone, especially you, Chris, like the way that I want things done. Yeah. So I would start at the very beginning and start like recording things, how things are supposed to be done. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, you were even starting with an you didn't even have an online registration system. You
Oh,
wrote
yeah.
everything down just to save some costs in the beginning to start at. So would you start again with this small studio with you had like a I don't know, was it like 40 square meters, 30 square
Mm,
meters, and you had a reformer in there and then like
room
eight
for,
mats?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
actually,
then a small office.
yeah, in a super small office, and I started really humble, and I wouldn't change that part of it. Actually, that I'm sure I could have grown faster, but it was never my big. That was never a big thing for me. Like I wanted to make sure that I tested the business model and that it feels comfortable and I was profitable from the first month. So I that's the type of risk tolerance that I like.
Yeah, you didn't have any costs, but would you, because also you started the business without, you didn't take out a loan from a bank.
Correct.
So would you now take a bigger space or two or three spaces with the reformer and what we have right now, or would you start again with the small space and then slowly growing?
I, I honestly, I like a slow grow. This is me and this is my personality. I feel like this was the comfortable way, and even knowing that I would be successful with this, that's the way that makes me feel the best. I think I would have been so out of my mind, stressed out, if I had done it the opposite, that I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't have been able to sleep at night. So we never had a moment where we were not profitable in there. And that's I needed that sort of comfort for that. So even though we're looking at things that, knowing what we know now, I still would do it the same exact way. I don't think that I'm a person that would like take out a huge loan to do it. Although that is a valid way to start a business, just
Yeah,
not
then
my way.
then for example, there just for example, I don't want to say what is right or wrong. Just example, you would have a bigger space. You would take out a loan of 100,000 euros. It's also then a marketing budget. It's also that you can make the space look nice. You can buy the equipment, reformer, all this weight balls and things and stuff like that. And that means you wouldn't be profitable from the first month because you still have to pay your loan back.
Correct. And I think with a solid business plan and a good market analysis, absolutely possible, 100% possible. Like we've coached people to do that, absolutely. I just know myself. And so the way that we did it was the way that feels the most comfortable for me. And I'm saying that because I want to highlight that there's a lot of different ways to have a successful studio and a successful business. And it comes down to planning and some luck, but it should also be within your own risk tolerance because at the end, it falls on you. And so you need to make good decisions of what kind of stress can you take. It's a very stressful business, anyways.
Yeah, and yeah, that's brings me to my point. What I would do different, I would probably first of all I would ask earlier for help.
Mm,
Not help that I'm lost, just ask for help, that you basically buy yourself time, that you hire teachers, or that you, for example, say no. 9 hours, 8 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours per day in a row without a pause is too much. Before, you always schedule these classes, you're like, oh, it's going to be fine, I can do it. But you're always kind of then stressed out and completely hungry and, let's say, burned out at the end of the day, and the next day is coming. Just like here and there, I would have wished for myself that I would have said that a little bit earlier, before everything gets annoying, before everything gets a little bit too much stress. So I say that would be for my point. And then, then my other question is now for you. It's also leading to this one. If you would have known all the stressful situations, all the things, everything, right? Would you start a business again?
Mm.
I mean, times have changed, but let's say you can go back and you again in front of this decision, you go to the right, no business, or you go to the left, yes business.
I am a business owner through and through. I come from a family of entrepreneurs and business owners, and I think that this is what I love. I love teaching. I love business. This is fun for me. So yes, I would do it. I I unfortunately thought I would be one of those people where, we say in German, we say selbstständig, like selbstständig, so that you're always, basically, it's like the translation that you're always working. And that is what you were just saying, Chris, is correct. I thought that I was going to be able to carve out space for myself and have better boundaries in the beginning. And I totally, like a decade long, I did not do that. So I would have, if I could do things differently, just like you were saying, I would protect my energy way sooner and ask other people to help me sooner. And I think that looks like, in the beginning, like we said yes to everything. We did everything, over teaching, constantly available, to whenever someone wanted a training, then we were there. I think we burned a lot of a lot of energy doing that. So I would protect that a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's like this kind of, I had the feeling we were trying to protect our baby, our kid, as long as possible, and no one else is allowed to. Or some people, like a car, you have like a really fancy car, let's say, and everyone else who's touching it can scratch it, could destroy it, that kind of thing. This is what you always think. And then, like, allowing, that was actually interesting, all these things, what happened to the business and us, all the decisions we took, we kind of got forced into it in a good way. If it was
Yeah.
the pandemic, if it was my little history, my little story from last year, we kind of got
Even
pushed
all
in this. Yeah,
Exactly. Even like there was a couple of different expansions that we made within the within our studio space, like got bigger and bigger and bigger, and that was a little bit of luck and a little bit of being ready for it.
yeah. Then also when it came always to, we made some money, the studio was successful, and then you had a bit of money, and then we always invested it right back into the business.
Yeah.
So, and then you always felt like, yeah, I made some money, I want to have it for myself. And then we put it back in, bought two more reformers or two more stability chairs and stuff like that. That was always for me, like, also this point, like, oh, is it actually is it worth it? Does it work? If it's going to be the right decision, which you don't know. But I always comes to the back of my head is, when you want to make money, you have to invest.
Yeah.
So that's kind of also looking back and knowing this one, and that kind of with the experience you have now, that you have to invest into the business, if it's financially, energy wise, and it will come back. If you just always try to take all the money out and just kind of, that makes also no sense,
Right.
knowing it now, looking back.
Exactly. And then also like the rate of which studios fail is so high. And so I think that the way that we did it helped with the sustainability of the business, right? So like I'm just the type of person, I got the advice early on to stay within your means. And that is the one that I really stuck to. So you are absolutely right. Like when as soon as we had a little bit of profit, then I put it right back into the studio and we kept on growing it. And of course, like that type of growth is much slower. But it is for us, it was the right decision. And also like you have to look at our backgrounds though of being dancers. I was under the poverty level for all of my adult life. And so that, there's only, I wouldn't say it's a scarcity mindset, but I was just really protective of our resources.
Yeah, it's like you show up every day. If you slept 2 hours, 6 hours, or four
Yeah.
hundred hours, or most probably less, it's just also what the what's also, yeah, it comes from the career as a dancer, is that you have to be consistent. It's not
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
one day you feel like, okay, you're going to do full speed, full out everything, and the next day you're like, ah, not feeling it today, not doing it. Especially when in the service industry where we're providing a service, and if people feel that one day you do more, one day you do less, people don't come back. So I
Yeah.
think it's also a really good, and we like, especially me, I'm really stubborn. So
Yeah, that's
just
true.
it's just like, so I'm just like, because someone says don't do it, I will do it.
Yeah, that's true. Something that I would do differently if we were to start the business now is I would put more structures in place at the beginning of the hire before the hiring process even started. We had a little bit of a messy start, and I am not entirely proud of the first few things that happened with hiring, because it was just the onboarding wasn't correct. It was just like, here's the keys, let's go. And I don't think that was very fair to the
No,
people that
I
we
yeah.
hired. So I would
But I
I
think
would
also
definitely do that different. That's a learning curve.
I think it was also the point where we realized that we need people, because we're teaching too much, and then you're just like, okay, here are the keys, go and do it. So it should have
Yeah,
happened earlier. So, but
right.
now looking back, now you know you would have done it differently.
Running a Pilates studio means you're already juggling schedules, payments, client communications, and a million other details. What if you could streamline all that into one place? Offering Tree is the all in one software built for Pilates professionals just like you. Manage bookings, process payments, and send automated reminders and grow your community all from one platform. They're offering our podcast listeners an exclusive deal. Get 50% off your first 3 months or save 15% on an annual plan. Stop wrestling with multiple apps and spreadsheets. Let Offering Tree handle the back end so you can focus on what you do best, transforming lives through Pilates. Visit offeringtree.com/Pilates Exchange to claim your discount today. That's offeringtree.com/Pilates Exchange.
Now looking back, now you know you would have done it differently.
Yeah, and that's definitely the point of the episode is like what can people learn from the mistakes that we made. And that even goes not just with teachers, but even with hiring a cleaning team. Like we did everything in our studio and for years, like so many years, from like cleaning the floors every day to toilets and all the things. And like definitely we were bootstrapping it to keep the resources that we have, but we were really burning the can. Like we had 12 to 14 hour days most days.
Yeah, and then cleaning on top. I was
Yeah.
just like, also what I would do different now when we talk about this one is setting boundaries with clients a
Yeah.
little bit more early enough. Like, kind of sometimes when you have these one-to-one sessions, like we're talking today also about it, that you get a little bit too much into the in private space. So like, kind of, this is my private life, this is your private life, and this is kind of the business, just kind of that it's not like getting intertwined. So it's just like business, private, related things, that would be probably what I've set earlier the boundary and say like, okay,
Yeah.
here is, I don't want to talk more about it or say more about this or this because it's now private and you're the, let's say, client, the student, and I think that would do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes into it was it took us a long time. I don't know why we just didn't even think about it. We had our normal phone that was at the studio, and then I had my cell phone, my personal cell phone, and I don't know why we didn't just like get a phone for the business. Like it took us such a long time to do that, and that would be one thing I would do from the very beginning is get a phone and say, like it's because it's those boundaries. Um, I remember when the final straw was we were on a Christmas break and I had people texting me when we were on family vacation and I was like, yo, like this is not an emergency. Like you can, you could just,
But yeah, but at this
but
time
it
they
was my
didn't know.
fault. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it was my own fault. They
they
didn't know.
didn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but
So
I think with the cleaning team and with the business cell phone, I think we're just trying to reduce the cost as much as possible
yeah,
to be able to invest and stuff. So, but right now also it doesn't cost that much to have a cell phone contract. So, but at this time it was a bit more expensive, but I think it's in the same category like I said with the boundary. This is my private cell phone number, and this is the business one. If you want to reach me privately and you have personal contact, then go over there. But if it's business related, then please uh, send a text over here.
yeah. Something that I've heard from this was not our case, but I feel like I should name it because I've heard it from other business owners. From the very beginning, we treated the business like a business. We had a separate business account. We had our tax advisor from the very beginning. I think we did a very good job on that. But I do have colleagues that weren't so consequent about separating that out, and it makes it hard, I think. So it makes it hard to go backwards and try to figure like pull those things apart. So that would be one advice that I would give as well as like separate that out, have a account that's solely for your teaching business or a studio or whatever, and make sure that you get good professional advice for all those things.
Yeah, I mean, it probably also depends if you do business, Pilates business for your living of it, or you're just doing it on the side after
Yeah.
your normal day job. But I understand. Yeah, it makes sense that when it gets like I said before, intertwined, the private money, business money, then also then when the business is going well, putting money to the side, so just in case there's going to be more taxes and things. I don't think we've done this one, so
Yeah.
that was not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things that I think people, as they're starting, worry way too much about at the very beginning is like getting the perfect logo and the perfect branding at the very beginning. I think it's way more, I personally just feel like it's way more important to get in there and just start it. I think we could go a lot of, paralysis by analysis where you just need to get out and do the thing and you can get advice as it goes on, right? Like I kind of think like start it, earn some money, and then go back and figure out those types of things. Because you'll never have everything figured out at the very beginning. You have to get in there and make some mistakes and learn how to do it. That's the fun part.
Yeah. Then, for example, when you go into a perfect looking studio, everything is chic, but the classes are not. Or the opposite. You maybe go into a studio where you think like, ah, yeah, I see it's the beginning. There could be some investment made here and there, but the classes are awesome. To which studio are you going back to? You know,
Well,
it depends what kind of type of person you are, but it is
yeah.
definitely. I would go back to the if where the classes where I like the teachers, the classes, the trainers, and
I
things
will
like that.
always choose a great class and a great connection to the teacher over a slick design because it just that is who I am. I like the good stuff, the special
Yeah,
sauce. Yeah.
yeah. There are other people out there. They're paying attention to different things. What's important for them, or you
Absolutely.
know, and it doesn't have to be like a polished whatever thing in order to make it work. Just get the thing out and then work on it.
Yeah, and it comes down to understanding what are your values of why are you doing this business and what are your values and stuff. And if you're if you put a lot of value on that, then great, go run for it. Take out whatever loans you need to make sure that the studio looks the way that supports the values that you would like to teach. I'm not saying that our way is the only way to go by any means. It's just the one that served us the best.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's one more other thing what came to my head right now is I wished we would have found earlier from the beginning a way of taking more vacation, taking more time off without thinking about, oh yeah, I'm closing the studio for 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to visit your parents or my parents, and then we're not going to make any money in that time. Just there would have been also um, a great
Yeah.
a great setup, finding a great setup that it works, so you don't always have to think when you're on vacation that you're not making money, and
Yeah.
then yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think having the studio having some downtime and it being, and just scheduling it out, like when we were a two-person team, we always had that anxiety. Actually, it was sort of like a growing pain. Sometimes, like when we would just close the studio when it was just you and I, then it was actually easier in the beginning because we didn't have to worry about anything. And then we went through a short period of time when we had some extra teachers that were covering some classes, but we didn't really have good processes in the background, and we ended up being so stressed out on vacation because things would happen where you're like, yeah, it was just messy. So that also wasn't the best. Now we got it all figured out. Now we
yeah,
have such a
yeah.
great team that's behind us that like when we take off, we know that everything is taken care of, just the same as like they can have their vacation time and we're not going to be bothering them.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's interesting with you. We look at it. You created a business, something where other people can live off.
Yeah.
You know, that's also if you look back and was like how old is the business now?
11.
11, 11 years old, 11 and a couple months,
Yeah.
maybe a two, 11 years and 2 months.
Yeah.
It's crazy if you look back. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish we would have taken more pictures in between so we can see like March 2016 or March 2018 or whatever, something in between. You could see maybe our eye rings are getting more, we're looking more
I
tired, more stressed. And
Well, I mean, actually, Chris, I think that like if someone wanted to scroll through your Instagram, I think you see a big evolution over the time. I think you're the most consistent person that I've ever seen on social media. So I think you could get almost the beginnings of the studio. Maybe not the
I
entire
have,
thing.
I actually have to go back and see what was my first post.
There was, oh my
Probably like
gosh.
with a different quality, but it's like consistency is, I believe, the key to
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so. Doesn't have to teach 400 classes on Monday. I'm exaggerating, and no class on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever. So it's just you have a big in there, so it makes also no sense.
Yeah.
So is there maybe okay, can you tell the story when you did your in the beginning when you started doing your business coaching and there were this one man who just said or the two men who said that your studio your business idea it's never going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was. That's true. I I had two. I was writing my business plan, and I went to at home remember that I did this in German, and that is my second language. And at the point that I was writing the business plan, my German was not so good yet. So that was a big, big struggle, I have to say. And so I had taken a business planning course. And one of the coaches was two white male, um, typical age, I would say they were probably at that point like late 40s, early 50s. In any case, one of them said that it would fail. Like he had absolutely no belief in anything that I had to say, anything that I was going to do. And the other one was like, okay, well, maybe. And just a bit, I was, it was, at that point, I had absolute confidence in my ability to teach. They made me really nervous. It was actually, yeah, it was really scary because of what they said, that it was just going to fail and I'm going to waste all my money. And I said, all
Yeah,
right,
you have to.
well,
Yeah.
let's go.
You had to fight from the beginning before the business started. I mean, I was also there. I remember I looked with you at the first space. At this time, I was still dancing. I just came later. Um, so that you were just you saw this room and it was like, okay, I take it. I was like, what? They didn't even didn't really talk about rent. Didn't really talk about how it's going to work. And here and there, it's just okay, take it. I was like, okay, she saw something what I didn't see. So that was interesting.
I was just,
I
you
mean,
know what I was, yeah, I was just thinking,
yep.
sorry, that is so true. And like that it did happen exactly like that. I saw the space and I had a feeling in my stomach and I was like, this is it. I know I can make it work. And, but that's not how I recommend doing business. I want to
No, no,
circle, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
no. I just wanted to point it out. It was funny. We're sitting outside. It was a summer-ish, late, early,
Hmm.
midsummer. I don't know. And there was a person who was working in the theater, and he was saying, he had some issues with his arm or something, and he went to a physical therapist. And then he said, he's looking for someone who's taken over his space. And you were like, arm up, me. And then was it like 1 or 2 days later we looked at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was even at the day I remember. I don't know. There was yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
but I had looked at a couple other spaces, but it was like walking into the space, and I was like, yeah, I know that I could. It has the right elements for what I needed at that time. I mean, yeah, I could have gone bigger, but I just want to circle back to. I remember another. The two men that did the business planning with me, both of them eventually apologized. So that they were wrong. And it happened two other times. One was the lawyer. Do you remember that? Because I went and which is I think good advice for anyone as you're listening. Like make sure that you get your,
The house rules.
everything checked out. Is like the house rule. Like like there's a lot of stuff to clean up on the back end. So make sure you,
Yeah,
if
each
it's the
country
lawyer.
has its own
Yeah.
little guidelines what you have to do. Yeah.
And he told me that this is never going to work. So that was one, but I never saw him again. So I don't really care what he says. And then the, the banker, do you remember that? The business banker?
Yeah, I know who it was. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
he
And he,
was really skeptical. He didn't really say it, but he was just like kind of yeah. He was talking more to you, to me, than to you when we had
yeah,
the
yeah,
conversation with him.
yep.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually I made him apologize because I was
You should
right.
actually we should actually see if they're still alive. I'm sure. So
Yeah.
we should kind of find out where they are and send them your numbers.
But we would say like the president of that bank is a client of ours now. So everything's fine.
Yeah. I don't know if he still works there, but
I don't know.
we can I'm sure find it out. That's funny. But I
Does
was
it?
also like I'm going back to when we looked at the room and you said yes. I was like thinking to myself, me and myself, I would have never been like that confident, or don't really have this knowledge and open up my own business, because I'm a kind of person, I'm gonna make everything perfect before I open it up. I would have this polished things, and it has to be like that because people paying attention to the mirror on the wall, to this and blah blah blah. But in the end, it's not. The people like mostly the little bit more less, let's say, fancy looking, but they feel home there. So
Right.
so
Well,
probably
that
I
was
would have done all the mistakes, like making it look what I think, and
well.
then
I don't, Chris. I don't think it's a mistake to do that. I felt like if I had, you know, I put everything on the line. Like that was all the money that I had. I had nothing else in like literally in my bank account. That was it. So I knew that I wanted to stay within that budget of making it happen. And I again, the only confidence that I had was that I was a good teacher and I knew how to do that. I'm a yoga teacher as well. And I looked around and I was like, oh, there's so many yoga studios. I'm not going to do that because that doesn't make sense. So I was the first or second. I
within
was
the
definitely
city
the first.
more.
Yeah, in the city center. I was the first yoga,
Yeah,
Pilates studio there.
and
And
with
the only
reformer
person
also. Yeah,
teaching, yeah, and first reformer and like the whole thing. That's 11 years ago. It's a very different climate right now, but
yeah,
there's a I think you have to have a certain um type of personality or certain qualities to be a studio owner as opposed to, there's like what you said, Chris, like you wouldn't have opened a studio probably on your own.
no,
No.
would never done it. No.
You know, I think
if
there's
if
a
if I would have the choice, or I would have not, no, wouldn't be my, let's say, it wouldn't be my first choice.
no, you just get to work with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we gave the people a good insight
Yeah.
of the beginning of the studio and what our thoughts is, and like always, if someone like to share their story or their idea, or what worked, what didn't work, how the story was, we're always interested in your story, so you can leave a comment or something like that if you feel like it.
Yes. And we're going to be continuing our conversation about um, teacher training that's coming up. We have a couple things planned and a few interviews that we'd like to do with people. If you would like to let us know, we get like beautiful voice messages on Instagram. So if you would like to tell us a story about how it was to be in a teacher training program, or what your thoughts on the last episode or this episode is. We listen to everything, we read everything. It's only the two of us behind there, so we'd love to hear
we
it.
don't we don't
Yeah.
have a business team, we do everything ourselves on social media.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
It's us. It's us.
It's always us. All right, you guys have a wonderful week teaching, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.